Looks like it's 10 a.m. Want to wish a warm welcome to everyone joining the webinar today. Thank you for joining us. We have a really great interactive session prepared for everyone today regarding returning to the workplace in this COVID-19 environment. We're going to look at how we can enable a safe return to workplace for ourselves and all of our employees, colleagues, partners. We're going to wait a minute at this moment for everyone else to join. But while we wait, what I'll do is display a slide up here for everyone to take a look at. Let's go back one. Here we go. So
Chris,
this
can you run
slide
it
is
in a
based,
slideshow, please?
excuse me?
Can you run it in a slideshow?
Oh, is it not? Okay.
No,
Yeah.
go on the right.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. Apologize for that. Okay. All right. There we go. Is that better?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So this slide is displaying the sentiment in the workplace around how people feel about returning to work. So we'll let everybody kind of noodle on this for a couple of minutes, and then we'll get started in just a moment. Great. All right, why don't we just get started at this point in time? We'll start by introducing our panel today. So we have with us today, Joseph Gonzalez, the Chief Strategy Officer at CLX Health. Joe has over 18 years of experience developing or advising the nation's leading companies in the financial, healthcare, and clinical data verticals. We've got Arjun Nagar. He's got 20 years experience driving business growth, P&L, and digital transformation across information and managed services. And he has international experience driving sales and enterprise business. And Arjun is the Chief Revenue Officer over at Milestone Technologies. We have with us today Michael Jernigan, Director of Product Development, Electronic Precepts. Michael is the director of, or has 7 years experience with technology and engineering. And finally, last but not least, we have Bala Ramakrishna, the Chief Technology Officer at Milestone Technologies. And Bala's got 20 years experience in IT services, managing global engineering efforts, building solutions, platforms, frameworks, tools, and accelerators. And then I'm your host today, Chris Batias. I'm the Director of Sales at Milestone Technologies. So our webinar today is a very informative 1-hour session that contains valuable industry information. And we have an interesting demo lined up as well, which you don't want to miss. And at the end, there's going to be a Q&A where everyone is welcome to submit questions, and we'll go over a few of those. So to get right into our session, we'll start by asking a question of Arjun. Oops, sorry, let me get this full screen again. So actually, we'll do a quick panel question here, and we'd like to go around the table to get all the panelists' input on their perspective on the global pandemic and its impact to organizations. So I'll hand it over to the panel at this point.
Thank you, Chris, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And thank you all for joining today. On behalf of my colleagues, Milestone, and the panelists, we want to wish you a very happy new year. And we truly wish a safe and a healthy 2021. And thank you again for choosing to spend the next hour with us. I know we've spent significant amount of time over the last 1 year on Zoom, so we do absolutely appreciate you taking out time. So yeah, Chris, so I think just to kick off, right? I mean, we've probably all spoken and talked about the pandemic ad nauseum since last year. I mean, at a personal level, of course, it has impacted us all personally, but also as well as our communities in US and globally. While we're seeing our communities and societies going through these really tough times, We've also seen unbelievable acts of courage, empathy, kindness, and compassion. In a quite a weird way, I mean, I think it's brought us all a little bit closer because of the shared problems and shared issues that we're all going through as a whole. Um, from an organization perspective, right, I believe that I think as a whole, I think we've had a tremendous economic, social, and psychological impact overall. If last year was a year of disruption, Chris, right, I feel that 2021 will be a year of transition and renewed optimism. Um, if you look at some of the business and some of the trends and the reports that we've seen at McKinsey, PwC, and other research, right, we're seeing some fundamental shifts beginning to take place. First, good news is vaccinations are here. So I think that's a very promising start to the year, which I know all of us are looking forward to. Second, at a fundamental level, corporations are planning more radical optimization of office space, whether it's reconfiguration of office space, whether it's implementing flexible desk arrangements, renegotiating existing lease terms, or really modifying office space footprint. I think there's a real focus that we see in the organizations. Three, I think the big thing that we've seen is that the hybrid workforce will be the new normal. I believe that there'll be remote working and coming back to work will go hand in hand. There'll still be a lot of employees I feel that will probably work from home. That's probably going to be the new normal. And I also believe that there'll still be a lot of employees who would want to come back to work, right? Provided the conditions are suitable for them. In addition, we feel that there is going to be a growing demand and on the organizations to rethink their end using computing services, to sort of meet the demands of a remote workforce while having people coming back to work. It kind of puts a lot of pressure on the organizations to start thinking of how do we do provision of assets? How do we do provision of laptops? How do we enable both the hybrid and the remote workforce to work while delivering security and privacy? And last but certainly not the least, I think, Chris, the fatigue is real, right? And organizations and executives at all levels, we have to think, how do we help employees to reconnect back to their jobs, right, to their colleagues and their purpose, and helping them returning back to work safely would be absolutely paramount for the organization. So that's sort of my high level view on how we see the industry, but I'll let probably Joe and Michael take it from here.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Gonzalez. So to add to Arjun's comments, I think that the way we look at it, and as tragic as this entire pandemic has been, what we witnessed in a technology space is just a vast amount of innovation. Innovation through partnerships and collaboration across companies that really, in most cases, were competitors, and we find ourselves talking to each other more, trying to, as a uniform segment of a specific vertical, really coordinate with each other, because we understand not one organization can do it all. So the level of collaboration and innovation has been tremendous in such a trying time, and I think that's really where we look at 2021 as being a very unique opportunity to bring us ironically closer together as we are socially distancing in real life. So that's our position and how we view this, and I think that's the seed and the foundation of where we're going.
Thank you, Joe.
Right. My name is Michael Jernigan with Electronic Precepts. Welcome, everyone. I think both Arjun and Joe made two very good points about not only what we're seeing from an organizational perspective, but what the outlook going into this new year, what it's going to bring. Just a few things. I'm sure almost everyone has experienced it, but with the shift to online meetings, it's becoming much easier to not only collaborate with other employees and team members, but also customers as well. The only caveat that I would add to that is sometimes it is cumbersome as far as aligning schedules across multiple teams and customers. But online calls have allowed us to be more personable with our customers, being able to meet face to face more regularly, as well as checking in on some of our teammates and fellow coworkers. As an essential business and manufacturer of medical devices, Electronic Precepts hasn't really had the opportunity to slow down. We've increased business probably by a factor of 2. Hadn't had any trouble as far as the designing, engineering, and the overall manufacturing of products. But one of the things that we have experienced early on in the pandemic is related to mainly logistics and shipping. We are seeing many delays across some of the sea freight as well as air freight. But short of that, all in all, I think the biggest takeaway for us is being able to be more personable with our customers, having the face-to-face meetings, and of course, being able to provide some of the products, not only that handle social distancing, but contact tracing as well. It's an interesting time, and we're happy to aid in any respect that we can as far as our product offerings.
Excellent. All right. Bala, did you have any comments at this point?
No, I echo what the other panelists have said. I think it's a new normal, and looking forward to a better 2021. But whatever habits that we had developed in 2020 is likely to continue for some more time. So
yeah,
that's my perspective. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very good. Thank you for those comments. Those are great. And I think all of us share a lot of those same sentiments. It really resonates with me and likely with everyone else. At this point, let's take a quick pause. And what we'll do is we'll kick off a poll here in Zoom, okay? And this poll pertains to the top reasons that you would have for returning to work. So I'm going to kick that off here in a second. And let's see. All right. You should see that now. So let's have everybody go ahead and put in your opinion as to what your top reasons would be for returning to the workplace. We'll let that cook for a couple of seconds here. And then what we'll do is we'll share the results of that a little later with the group. But right now it looks like the majority of people are saying all of the above. We've got about 34% talking about social interaction, 20% looking at ability to collaborate, and 2% improved productivity. Very good. That's very interesting to see where people's heads are at, and I very much agree with that myself. All right, great. At this point, let's turn our attention to Arjun Nagar. Arjun, why don't you tell us a little bit about the mitigation strategies that organizations can adopt and what Milestone's approach is to addressing this issue?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. So before we get into sort of the mitigation strategies, I just thought probably it'll be good. I'll take a minute or so just to introduce who Milestone is to everyone. So Milestone is a global managed IT services firm. We're based out of Fremont, California. We've been in the business for over 20 years. Really, the focus for our firm has been to leveraging people, process automation, and AI to help really provide an end-to-end enterprise scale managed services to some of the world's leading tech and pharmaceutical companies and manufacturing companies. We are over 200 customers. We're very humble to the fact that we've grown over the years, and we are serving our client base across 36 countries. It's been an interesting journey for us for the last 1 year, where we today offer IT managed services to a lot of our clients, and a lot of our customers came back and sort of asked us from the perspective of the pandemic that how can we help them during this course of this unprecedented sort of event, right? We put together a comprehensive workforce management program. Since last year, we've been running a global pandemic program for one of the world's leading social media enterprise. So that's sort of at a high level who Milestone is. Our focus is really to bring the best of people, process, technologies, and partnerships. So we do the heavy lifting and make sure that we are offering end-to-end services for our clients. So Chris, if you want to just move to the next. In conversations with our customers and clients and partners, and I'm sure with my colleagues here on the panel, one of the things that's come out for us has been very interesting is that everyone across the board that we talk to, our clients, our partners, they're all thinking of opening up the offices, right? this year. But they are in different stages of planning. Some customers are a slightly advanced and mature phase where they've thought through the planning process. Other clients are still thinking through it. And there are different elements that's where they're going through. But one of the most important thing that everyone's really concerned is how do we open it safely, because the safety of the employees is paramount, right? Having said that, what we've done is we've put together a very comprehensive workforce management program where we started looking at holistically that how can we look at the journey of an employee from the perspective of from the first time that they will probably think of coming back to work to the end. And what we've done is we've put together a modular, very flexible and customizable offering, which allows the clients to sort of pick from the options that we have, either sort of augment their existing or complement their existing program, or kind of if they don't, they can take the entire suite of offerings. We've done the heavy lifting, we've worked through the partners, we've looked at the technologies and a governance framework, and that's what we're offering to the client. So what do we do today? We've looked at 5 areas, right? The first one is pre-screening. So that's giving an ability for an organization to allow its employees through a mobile and a web-based application to schedule a COVID testing, and then more importantly, getting those results online, having an ability to monitor local and regional HubSpots and really get integrated with an environment. So that's the first step that we have. And my colleague Joe is going to go into a lot more depth in sort of sharing the nuances of the application. The second element of that is we started looking at, okay, once an employee comes back, how do we safeguard and protect and provide security surveillance capabilities at the parking lots, at the facilities, right? The third element of the offering is really looking at the office setup. So how do we enable office reconfiguration? How do we allow workplace flexibility? How do we ensure that we have a 6-feet reconfiguration? This is an area of business that Milestone has been doing for the last 20 years in helping relocation services. The fourth area for us to look at was, okay, how do we ensure that we have screening associates and infrared temperature scanning at the point of entrance and exit of employees? So as employees enter the premises and exit, we have an ability for us to provide a managed service of doing temperature scanning, oxygen level monitoring, and mass detection of employees. And lastly, Chris, to tie it all together, so we start with the pre-screening, we go in the facilities, we then look at people coming in and coming out. And then finally, we also look at, okay, once you're within the office, whether you're in the facility, how do we ensure an extra level of healthcare safety by providing IoT-based contact tracing capabilities, right? When you round this off, there is a real-time analytics dashboard that's running for the firm and the enterprises that's giving them real-time health alerts of the employees coming in. That is sort of our approach from a Milestone perspective with our partners and ecosystem to offer a very modular and a sort of a comprehensive workforce management system solution. So that's sort of our approach to this. Of course, my colleagues now, I think, will probably dive in and get into each of these elements of the offering.
Excellent. And before we move on, are we to understand that when you use the term modular, that means companies can employ any of these modules that they see appropriate or need? Is that correct?
Absolutely, Chris. Great question. So some organizations may already have a way to do scanning today, right? They're already implementing those measures, but they may be very interested to see, hey, I would love to have a pre-screening application that allows me to sort of monitor the health of the employees as they come in. Or, hey, I'm not done reconfiguration of the office space. I just want to go for that particular and complement that, etc. So absolutely, you feel free to pick and choose from the set of capabilities, or you can go for the whole 9 yards.
Yep. Excellent. So one of the things I think we've all experienced, maybe when we go to doctor's appointments or when we do have to travel, is pre-screening. It's a big part of our life nowadays. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and advance to the next slide here. And Joe, could you share with us a little bit more about the pre-screening app, your experience with customers and what they're saying about it and the responses in the market? You're muted, Joe.
Thank you. So we have an app in the marketplace. It's called Trust Assure. Actually, the way it's being configured right now for our travel clients, both United and Delta, is it's being built within their own experiences, but it does have a standalone module. And on the pre-screening side, what we're witnessing is a high level of adoption based around cadence testing. And what cadence testing is that the organization itself, whether it be an employer or in the case of travel, a destination, dictates how often someone needs to be tested. And we do is we take that logic and we apply it inside our application, and we record those destination requirements or those employer requirements in a back to work scenario, and create an entire cadence or persona for the consumer, or the user rather, around our application. So in the case of an employer that has various people with different roles and responsibilities, what it does is we can program a employee who has a lot of consumer facing type of role, and we can queue them up to get tested on a more regular basis versus someone who's in a back office doing administration. So it's that type of logic that we apply throughout an entire organization and an enterprise. And what that then does is we record that information and we provide testing data and risk levels back to an HR department so they can manage and monitor the logistics in the supply chain. Michael had made a comment earlier about supply chain management and logistics around parts and other pieces that are coming from suppliers. And a lot of those challenges are because, people within that supply chain have fallen ill and caused a domino effect of delays. So this actually becomes a very valuable tool in how to manage assets across an entire supply chain journey. And we apply those policies and procedures across that, and that logic across that type of framework, so that the reporting is available, not just from a testing perspective, because then, but also at an organizational level for that type of asset management across their enterprise.
Okay.
So what you'll see here, and there are a few of our clients, we'll see here is how we've constructed our application capability wise. So there is an accreditation and a certification process to this. There are policies and procedures, best practices that we've incorporated around and training around our entire experience. And that all exists within the application. We have ready to work, and in our travel use case, ready to fly, ready to cruise, however it is we're configured for that client base. But we have that ready to indicator when someone has met all the requirements, training and or testing, health status as part of that. And then we map all that data in for reporting, not only to make that reporting available to the user, the end user, the consumer, the employee, but also to the employer, to an organization that you may be participating with, like a United, like a Delta, or their affiliate airlines. We validate identity with our partners at TransUnion. They are our global partner for validation of identities across 50 countries, and that is really our focus on risk and privacy, and our ability to finally share data across different at the behest of the consumer. So what we really focus on here as an organization is working with with world governments, because they're also different in what their requirements are, and we manage and monitor those with our partners. But also understanding that going from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, it is not a one-size-fits-all type of application. It's our ability to manage a very dynamic situation with our partners at Milestone in the different countries that we mutually do business in, because those rules do change from place to place. So having that capability and that flexibility is what we believe jointly gives us the best value proposition.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Well, that's the pre-screening app. There are a lot of other aspects and technologies, processes involved in the holistic solution. So to kind of weave and tie these together, let's turn our attention now to Bala Ramakrishna, who can talk about the various technologies and how they work together to provide one comprehensive solution. Bala?
Yeah, sure, Chris. So Arjun spoke about the modular approach, and Joe went into the details on the pre-screening app, which is one of the modules that we have. And Milestone, as a managed service provider, can bring in all these together and implement them to meet the requirements of our customers. Let me talk about each of these modules in detail. Customers have the option of choosing between the modules, since some of them may be already in place. But the starting point is office reconfiguration in terms of realigning the workstations, conference rooms, and common areas like the cafeteria, or where there are escalators, where the elevators, and having the signage and signboards in place. That's important. And without that, we cannot take the other steps. And Milestone has the ability to provide this service, right? So, and as Joe mentioned, I think Joe went into the details of the pre-screening app, and to summarize, it can be leveraged in two ways. One is the most of the places that you see, they ask for a standard questionnaire that every employee or every visitor has to sign before they are let in, right, into the workplace. So that to ensure that they have no symptoms and they're safe to work, right? So that is one aspect. And the other one is the end-to-end ease of testing in terms of scheduling, getting the results, having the trust assured pass to get entry into the premises, right? So, and organizations may decide to go for both or one of them. And the next step is to screen the employees at the entrance, right? We offer two options to our clients. One is the manual temperature recording and mask detection by the screening associates before they are let in. And the other approach is the automated approach, where we leverage the temperature kiosks, the temperature monitors that has the ability to not only record temperature but detect masks. And this has infrared camera to record the temperatures within an accuracy of less than or equal to 0.5 degree Fahrenheit. Right? And the data is visible to the front desk, and based on the signing of the questionnaire and based on the temperature monitoring, the employees or the visitors are let in. Right? So that's now when it comes to parking lots and buildings, Milestone has the ability. If you can go to next slide, Chris. Milestone has the ability to install and manage these video cameras through our strategic partners, or we can leverage the video cameras that are already installed and can bring in, and we can bring in AI platform on top of these video clippages that are captured from time to time. And this AI platform has Google-like search capabilities on, and searching can be done based on attributes like color, type, gender, age, etc. We can parameterize this. So that is one advantage of having this AI platform. And using real-time screening protocol, we bring in the following features. One is find things that matter the most without watching the complete video. Very important. Face recognition and comparison of this, the recognized face with a faceless database to determine if the person belongs to the organization, right? And then have the ability to count the number of people and the number of vehicles that are coming in, that have entered the premises, to ensure that the threshold levels are maintained, because that's important. It's not that, the entire workforce can start on day one. There's a phased approach to this. And then ensure masks are worn at all times. If there's any intrusion detection, how do we detect that? And of course, the object tracking the objects inside the premises, right? That's or in the parking lots, is there any intrusion? How do we detect that? So these are some of the features that this video intelligence can offer. And when it comes to within the premises, besides office reconfiguration and video intelligence, it is important to adhere to the organization policies, and the key amongst them is the social distancing, right? And Chris, if you can go to the next slide, that's where the contact tracing will come in, right? And how does it work? I just would like to take a few minutes to explain that. And these devices, these contact tracers or wearables, have QR codes that are connected to low energy Bluetooth gateways, right? It is like the hotspots. They're connected to the corporate network, and these devices are paired to an app. It's a combination of these wearable devices, the Bluetooth gateways, the corporate network, and an app. So all of them come together to enable contact tracing, right? And this app is used to configure the devices. Means all these devices have to be configured to ensure the anonymity is maintained, and these IDs have to be associated with an employee ID, because these wearable devices are carried by each of the employees or the visitors, right? And we need to set alerts to give indication. Hey, if an LED light glows green, that means safe distancing is maintained. If the LED glows blue, hey, somebody is coming closer. If it is red, social distancing is not maintained. So that is the kind of indication, and also to monitor the battery levels to ensure that all these devices are up and running all the time. If the battery levels are down, how do we recharge? If there are any contact, if any of these variable devices are not working, how do we ensure they're replaced from time to time, right? So that's important, and that's what this app enables to do, right? So, and these data is transmitted through the gateways to the client servers. In all the modules that we spoke about, the data is encrypted at every stage. It is important that we secure the data and not expose not expose any data to any outsider. So that's very important. So encryption is enforced at every stage. So to summarize, these modules are implemented as a turnkey project, which may take anywhere from 4 to 10 weeks, depending on the requirements. As a part of the implementation, data integration is done to the customer systems. Whatever system the customers have, how do we integrate the data coming out of these modules to their systems? And how do we build? And we have the ability to build persona-based dashboards for various departments such as facilities, IT, HR, because each of them would like to see whether the work environment is safe for employees, right? And it also, these dashboards also enable effective monitoring for employee health and safety. Right? So these, and also the additional advantage of having these dashboards is it can help set up a command center for centralized monitoring. That is, if a customer has multiple buildings or multiple locations, how do we set up a command center to monitor everything from a centralized location and act on alerts and notifications that come from time to time, right? And then once the systems are up and running, Milestone provides the required staff to give operational support for running the day-to-day operations. It's important that once the systems are put in place, once the protocols are put in place, once we ensure that the customer guidelines, policies are adhered to, how do we maintain that? How do we ensure that it is a safe environment every day of the year, right? So Chris, this is our solution approach in a nutshell.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that overview, Bala. Very good consolidation of those various technologies and processes. At this point, some might be wondering if we can provide some real world examples or maybe even a demo of this functionality. So Joe, we hear that you have a demo prepared for us. So would you be able to take that over right now? I could stop the share and then you could bring yours up.
Can anyone see my screen? At least the
Not-
emulator? Yep. So what you're seeing here is our standalone app, our Trust Assure app, and it's part of our screening process that we've been relaying as part of this presentation. And what you see here is different components to it. There is the ability to access your own test results if you were to upload them themselves.
So Joe, I think the some of the folks are not able to see. I don't know if
Yeah, it's saying Joe Gonzalez has started screen sharing.
Yeah, has it not?
no. You have to. Do you have to click on that particular app?
It says I'm screen sharing. It actually says that.
Yeah, we're not seeing an application displayed.
All right, let's
Probably
try.
not clicked on that particular screen. Maybe.
All right, I'm going to stop this and restart it. Hold on. How about
Probably
now?
you can let your entire desktop.
I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
If not, perhaps, I don't know if Mike has the demo as well.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, even Mike can share his perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, back to Bala's point, I think it's important to acknowledge that not everyone has the same type of workplace, right? Someone might have the traditional, corporate office or, work in a small branch, whether it's a marketing firm, a bank, what have you. But I think the benefit to Milestone's modular approach is the ability to be applicable for other types of work environments. Specifically, electronic precepts, we have different applications, whether it's for cruise lines, large sporting events or concerts, stadiums, different types of manufacturing settings, assembly lines, not just corporate offices. So I think that's one of the big advantages to the Milestone approach, whether it has to do with passive beacons, tiles, wearable devices, or even more complex active scanning types of bracelets or wearables that can track users when they come in contact with others, being able to warn them visually, audibly, or tactily that they need to maintain social distancing. Definitely something that we're seeing more and more of from our perspective is the ability to have more of a diverse offering, whether it's on the dashboard or the back end side, as well as the hardware.
Excellent. All right. Let me put the presentation back up on the screen here. Okay. Very good. Any more? Did you want to try giving it another shot, Joe? The sharing of your screen?
Yeah, let me just see if I can get this going again, because it keeps giving me the message that it is being shared. So
Yeah, Zoom is can be unpredictable.
all right. Let me see if I go to full screen on this. How about now?
Yeah.
All right. I only work for a technology company. I would have got it eventually. So what we're seeing here is our application. Excuse me. And the way it's laid out is at the very top, there are decisions that you can choose. If you are using it for posting your own lab results and sending those to your employer, you have the ability to upload results. We work with different organizations like Milestone and their clients. If they're from an HR perspective, they'd like to do daily check-ins, symptom checkers. Again, we know that the pandemic has had a psychological impact on the workforce or in people in general around the world. So we always like to we have clients that have been incorporating even questions. How are you feeling? Are you in a positive mood today? Are you in a negative mood? Components like that, because it gives from a psychological perspective and a service perspective, the ability to manage your workforce in an effective way. And if a person needs a certain amount of attention or guidance, then we can be proactive in communicating that to the proper people within the team. And then in the main real estate, you'll see we talk about screening, predominantly focused on screening. So here where I live in Charlotte, these are the locations that we're affiliated with and our partners at CVS for someone to schedule a test. The type of test, the date that they choose to, whenever that test is available, and then schedule their appointment. Put that in there. We collect some additional data as part of a demographic. And then what that does is it creates an appointment reminder for the user. So this goes into again, creating a health and safety perspective of managing employees across an enterprise. From an HR perspective, they would know that their employee has scheduled their test based on the cadence that we've communicated through them. And even in a travel use case, what this does is part of with our clients at both United and Delta and their affiliates, is if once a consumer, a passenger has scheduled their test, we message the airline, this person has entered the next phase of their passenger journey, the scheduling of their test. And that type of messaging goes a long way, because now from an airline perspective, and certainly from an employer perspective, they know that this person is following the guidelines that have been, and the policies that have been communicated. And we are then managing what they do next as part of that entire experience. So once those results are collected, they receive the results to get a human readable version of them. So they know that in this case, they've tested negative for COVID. What we're noticing too now when we talk about employee screening is that more employers are asking for panel testing. What panel testing is not just COVID test, it's testing for the flu, influenza A, influenza B, strep. These are all viruses that mimic COVID-19. So as we're managing supply chain and other types of assets within an organization at an enterprise level, we certainly don't want to have scares that took place in Northern California at the early part of pandemic, where entire first responder units were taken out of play at a service because one person was symptomatic with the flu, but everyone automatically thought it was COVID. So it's this type of information management that is critical to this entire experience that we've developed with Milestone, in partnership with Milestone. And then finally, from a reporting perspective, the consumer has access to their test results, and this becomes a shareable document. So now it's not just a casual attestation of, oh, I have a test, or I tested negative. Now we're providing the documentation along with that. And that documentation is critical, especially when you're dealing with different organizations. If you're working outside your organization and you're collaborating and you'd like to show up at an office for a meeting of a partner firm, what we're seeing now in those types of events is that the policies that are being generated by some organizations are, if you're coming to see us, we need to know that you have a test within a certain amount of time. Well, we're noticing that around live events. Ticketmaster press release at the end of last year that they were looking at introducing testing around going to concerts and live events. So the testing now has become part of the new normal. We certainly know that over 100 countries today require testing to enter as part of our travel experience, both for just the airline, both for the airlines and the cruise lines that we're engaged with. And then finally, when we go into employee screening or travel screening, we have our ready to work QR code. So, and this is a critical component around our experience that Bala had mentioned as we become a modular piece to this entire workflow. The ready to work, the test is in, has been processed. It's been received. It's been documented from the laboratory that we're interfaced with, and around the world. It's over 400 laboratories that account for almost 18,000 locations worldwide that you can get tested at. So we are, in fact, a global operation in the countries that we operate in, and in partnership with Milestone and our other partners that are global as well. So as we coordinate on that scale, we're able to bring in data from those jurisdictions and create these ready to work, ready to fly, ready to attend notifications that can be part of our screening process and scanned at points of entry, and also data that is all relayed to the hierarchy of organizations, including human resources. So I'll pause right there if anyone has any quick questions around this.
I'm watching some questions come in from the polls or from the viewers, but let's do this. Let's ask the viewers if
we can address them at the end.
yeah. Let's have everybody submit your questions about that in the chat. And in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll kick off a couple more polls.
Chris, and if you would, this is one last piece that I think is important.
Sure, yeah.
And it's our viral encounter risk assessment tool. And what you're seeing here, you know, I live here in Charlotte in the downtown area. And what you're seeing here is we collect data from over 80 different sources that we pay for, and some publicly available, like the public health departments in different states and countries, organizations like the CDC, the World Health Organization. And what you're witnessing here is a population of rectangles of the footprint, the viral footprint that is currently taking place in the city of Charlotte. So what this is a forensic tool, and we look at answering two questions. What is the risk of where I've been, and what is the risk of where I'd like to go? So from a risk perspective, you're relaying areas that are relative to your geography and looking at this and going, oh, I may have been in Charlotte in Romeo Bearden Park, which is right downtown, blocks from me. And there is a very intense viral footprint there. If I was there in the last 24, 48 hours, I may decide to go get a test, be prompted to by the application, depending on my risk level. And also maybe this creates also decision-making around where may I want to go to dinner, or what store may I want to frequent or participate in. The other aspects that we do is we are tied into all these data sources, and we provide real-time information to not only consumers, but really the end user and organizations around what's happening in those geographies. And they have direct access to those. They're not being manipulated anyway or filtered. This is direct from those sources of truth. State COVID sites, public health, and social media, and other projections. So again, this is all about operational decision-making at our part as we look to keep people safe, both in the workplace and then also when they leave the workplace. It becomes an extremely viable tool.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Joe. It's very impressive and extremely helpful information. All right, so at this point, I'll kick off those two polls I was mentioning. The first one here is, when is your organization planning to reopen? So if you know that, put that in there. And let's see where the numbers fall here. Interesting. Most responses are coming in the 3-month bucket or the 6 to 9 month bucket. So we've got 42% 6 to 9 months, 46%, we've got 32% 3 months, 14% 3 to 6 months, 7% 9 to 12 months. Interesting. Excellent. Okay, I'll end that poll, and we have one final poll, which is, what would make you comfortable about getting back to work? A lot of all of the above. Yeah, it looks like a pretty even sweep across safe workplace, health status of coworkers, office hygiene, and office configuration. So the biggest hitters were safe workplace and health status of coworkers. Excellent. Very good. Well, with that, let me put my presentation back up on the screen for us. And then we were going to turn the conversation over to Arjun to give us a quick summary.
Thank you so much, Chris. And thanks, Joe, Michael, Bala. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We'll after this, we'll have the question Q&A. So I just want to kind of round up very quickly, as sort of we've given you sort of a preview on the overall workforce management solution. What we have really looked at is how do we offer a very modular and a customized build return to work offering where you can pick up the pieces that you need, but if you need the entire suite, you have a complete end-to-end offering. Like I said, we've done the heavy lifting. We've worked with partners, and we are, I mean, this is personal to all of us, right? We want to ensure that not only us, but everyone is able to return back safely. Number two is, Milestone is really focused on bringing people, process, and automation capabilities to deliver employee health and safety. This is really critical. Nothing is pure automation. It is a combination of people and process and a governance framework that makes it all come together. And lastly, and third is, we have the experience of supporting and deploying managed services at an enterprise scale. We do it today for large enterprises, global, and with the right governance framework in place. So with that, thank you so much. And I'll pass it on to Chris to take some questions.
Excellent. Yeah, so there's a lot of questions that have come in. One of the ones I'm noticing that is a frequent question is pertaining to vaccinations. So how do vaccinations play into everything we've considered today?
Sure, so I'll take that. So from a vaccination perspective, we recognize that people are getting vaccines, but the testing cadence is still testing, right? So instead of an antibody, instead of a PCR test or an antigen test looking for an infection, what we're doing is checking for antibodies. And there are antibody tests that are in the marketplace that do pick up what the recorded levels of that are coming from these vaccines that are being developed. And we recognize this in the travel use case more than any others, as we see countries who are like Australia and others that are defining that they will allow entry with the vaccine and proof of vaccine. So what we're doing with our partners here is we're coordinating with state registries and organizations like the CDC to validate these vaccinations that are coming in and making them part of the experience, and taking that vaccination card and turning it into a digital form and putting it into our blockchain wallet for security. Privacy and security is extremely important to all of us here, and we've worked across our different enterprises to make sure it's managed appropriately.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Another question that I see several times is pertaining to the pre-screening application, and this would also by extension apply to the other factor or the other components of the solution. But when are they ready for consumption by the public, and how long does a rollout take?
So it's a great question. So what we've experienced initially was when we did our initial rollout in late August and September, but we recognized very quickly that this was becoming a very global type of application, right? Our partners, not only here in the United States, but around the world. And as we got into a deeper dive around travel and our airline clients, we recognized that we had to basically modify the application to service not just one country, but close to 100, from a language capability, from a security solution. And when you do business across borders, as our friends at Milestone, my friends at Milestone will tell you, it is not a one-size-fits-all experience. Every country has its own laws around how to handle data, how to handle PII, how to handle just about anything. So as we go through and a rollout may seem like it shouldn't take that long, but every jurisdiction needs to get signed off on. And as we go as we cross over from border to border and go from the EU to the UK and then into parts of Asia, all of these take time. So today, They are being built in for the benefit of speed. They've been built into the experiences that are generated by those airlines and other clients. And I think that speaks to the flexibility to what we're doing in partnership with Milestone. We're building our work within the frameworks that have already been established for speed
Very
to
good.
market purposes.
Thank you. And since there was other components, Bala, could you speak to the remainder of the components?
Yeah, see, the onboarding time takes anywhere from 4 to 10 weeks. It all depends on the requirements of our customers. One, the number of locations it has to be rolled out, and in each of these locations, how many buildings or how many premises we need to cover, right? And how geographically it is spread, and what are the modules that we need to look at? What are the various? Means somebody interested only in pre-screening app. Somebody would be interested in contact tracing plus pre-screening. It all depends on the number of modules they would like to take. In addition, what is also important is what kind of data integration we need to do with the systems that clients would have, right? So which is very important. So considering that, I would say anywhere from 4 to 10 weeks is a typical onboarding time. So.
Okay. And Bala, while we have you on the line, would you mind just talking for a minute about data compliance and privacy data? Because people might be thinking, there's identity information, there's health related information. So how does this hold up to HIPAA compliance?
Yeah, one is there are multiple ways of doing this. Like say, let me take a few examples. Like if I take a contact tracer or a wearable kind of a device, one, it has a cache memory. It is the data is resident only for it's temporarily till it is synced up with the servers, and it's completely encrypted. Nobody can get the data out of these devices. Even if these wearable devices are taken home, they will not work because they're not connected to the corporate network. So what is important is the data resides within the organization, and even the data residing within the organization, either the data is static or in transit, it is encrypted using the standard encryption protocols.
Excellent, thank you. There's another question here. How do you balance the need for social interaction while maintaining safety and health? Arjun, would you mind fielding that one?
Yes. So, sorry, Chris, can you just
yeah, sure. How would you balance the need for social interaction while maintaining safety and health?
Yeah, so see, one of the things, I mean, this is a very interesting question because there are two elements to this. One is that if you enable contact tracing, right, you have the wearables that you have that allows you to sort of maintain a 6 feet distance between you and sort of your friends. I mean, gone are the days where we could just go and hug a person or, shake hands, unfortunately. So one of the ways that through technology we can do that, one is through contact tracing. When you have a wearable, you can have a 6 feet distance and it beeps if it gets too close. The second is, of course, through office reconfiguration, where we sort of ensure that the desks and the workstations are at a reasonable distance for people to still communicate, but of course, avoiding, too close proximity. So these are sort of some of the ways that I think we can help organizations.
And Chris, the advancement in technology that we are seeing today is look at its sensory-based alerts, right? We don't no longer see the beeps or sounds, right? It is somebody getting a vibration on their hands if there's a wearable device saying that, hey, you're too close to a person, right? These are all very important. These are very sensitive things that, without disturbing the group, how do we indicate to a person that, hey, it is important that to be safe? So probably that is one way of looking at a seamless social interaction in the new normal.
Excellent. Very good. Well, at this point, we're at the top of the hour. I want to thank all of the panelists for your time and all the great information today. Thank all of you viewers for joining. We hope this was an edifying and educational session for everyone. And I'll just pop up on the screen the final slide here, which is contact information. So if anyone desires to reach out to anyone on the panel, feel free to call or shoot an email or visit our website, and I will make sure you get connected to whomever you like. Thanks again for joining, and everybody have a great day and weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everyone.